Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon all of you. So, getting to specifics about nonverbals that you want to be aware of and that you want to do when you're approaching young people and when you are in the authoritative role over them, nonverbals that will get compliance out of them in a way where tension is not built up in the relationship, because tension leads to animosity on their part, which can ultimately lead to rejection of the lessons that you want them to get from you once they have the independence in life to exercise that. So there's a lot that can be gone over with this, and it's something that a person gets good at executing through practice when you're actually parenting or you're actually teaching or you're actually supervising young people in whatever context. The biggest thing that gets the most use, and the first thing that I teach people with this, is what to do with your face and facial expression. Now, it's something that has been studied in different contexts, and it's known by body language experts. And it's something that you should understand as a foundational thing. That when you have a facial expression where your teeth are clenched, meaning your teeth are touching one another, even if it's very lightly, this will give you a facial expression that indicates stress. And when you have a facial expression that indicates stress to a younger person, especially an adolescent, that can signal to them. Again, they will inflame in their minds what that signals, so they will interpret it as anger and hostility and oftentimes condemnation on your part. And that will cause them to put defense walls up. And the more regularly this happens, the bigger those defense walls get. So when you are in a moment where stress is triggered in you by a young person, the first thing you want to be very conscious of is not having your teeth clenched. Now, you can do this by training yourself. When you are triggered by a young person, or you're just starting to feel stressed out about something you need to tell them or something you need to direct them to do, in these moments, you want to start training yourself to take your tongue and pressing it against the roof of your mouth. And you can press it hard or light as you like. But if your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth, then it's impossible for your teeth to clench. And if you train yourself to do this as a habit, eventually you might not need to do the tongue pressing anymore, and you'll just habitually keep your face resting in a way where the teeth are not clenched. So just to show the difference between what this looks like. This is my face with my teeth clenched very lightly. Now this is my face with my tongue pressing the roof of my mouth. Clenched, unclenched. So you can see in that with teeth clenched, there's all this tightness around my cheeks and around my eyes, and this signals to whoever's seeing me that I'm stressed out, and it's interpreted that way. And me, I've done this, I've practiced this in classrooms and with young people in different countries, and with with students from a wide range of backgrounds. And it has been looked at in many different cultures. So, I mean, there is different cultural interpretations to things like facial expression, but this matter concerning the teeth clenching, it is something that has some backing to suggest that it's very cross-cultural. It's very cross-cultural. So if the other thing about forming this habit of sticking your tongue to the roof of your mouth, a lot of times when a young person triggers us, like if we go back to the example of a parent telling their child to get off the iPad and go clean the room, and the young person gives some sort of back talk, which is disrespectful and not appropriate for a young person to do to a parent or to a teacher. And when they do it, it's triggering to the older person. Usually, a lot of times, the instant reaction of the older person is to say something, and to talk back themselves. And when they do that, when they do that in a reactionary way, this starts to get the cycle going of the tension building up in the relationship and the defense walls being built up by the young person. Why? Because it's typically the case that if they've triggered your stress, the first thing that you want to come out of your mouth is not really going to be something productive to say. And if they've triggered your stress, you yourself, you're not going to be operating from the reasoning parts of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. You're more likely to be operating from the emotional centers of your brain. So what you say, it's both the wording and the way that you say it is going to be emotional. So train yourself to instead having this reaction where you just stick when you stick your tongue to the roof of your mouth. It has this benefit of not allowing your face to get tense, but it has an auxiliary benefit of making you pause instead of instantly saying something, because you typically do not want to say what the first thing that comes to your mind here. You yourself need to reason out what you're going to say to the young person. Now, the second thing you want to do after sticking the tongue to the roof of the mouth is you want to take a relaxing breath. There's different methods to what this can be, and you want to figure out for yourself what a relaxing breath means. But it's typically going to be through your nostrils, because you don't want to have your mouth open, and you don't want to do a breath that is too exaggerated and really too deep, because that will signal that you're really trying to de-stress yourself. But if you just take a relaxing breath through your nostrils, like even what I did there is probably too exaggerated. But breathing reduces stress. There's no doubt about that. It's been studied in many different ways. Being conscious about your breathing and slowing your breathing down, it helps regulate your heart rate, helps stop it from going too high, and it relaxes you. Now, when you do this bit of relaxing, it reduces stress, and it prevents your mind and your body from releasing adrenaline, because that is what happens when you get triggered into being stressed out, is adrenaline gets released into your body. And a lot of times, parents and teachers and people supervising young people, when they're doing it, they're running on adrenaline all day because of all the stress triggers that the young people are giving to them. Now, adrenaline, it takes about 27 minutes to run its course through the bloodstream in the adult body, 27 to 30 minutes. So a lot of times parents and teachers, when they are with young people and supervising them, they're running on adrenaline all day, and that's how they get through it. And when they get to a resting point, the teacher goes home or they get a break. Sometimes parents don't get a break until the kids go to bed. They can be awake and do things for about 25, 30 minutes after that, and then after that, they will just completely crash. And that's because the adrenaline has drained from their system after that, and they don't have any left. They've been running on that adrenaline all day. And running on adrenaline all day, it's not good for your overall health. So there's detrimental health factors in this. So this type of pausing, making sure your teeth aren't clenched, taking this relaxing breath, it's really a foundational move that you have to understand in dealing with young people, because it's going to provide yourself with the foundation that you need just to think straight and to think logically and to think strategically to the degree you have to in how you are approaching the young person. And it's going to allow you to be more consistent and really do more with young people, because it's going to be controlling your own stress. And it's a key thing I've talked about before about how stress management it's a moment-to-moment thing. And things like exercise, a healthy diet, praying, or some type of reflection period if you're not religious, all these types of things are important to have in your life for stress management. But especially when you work with young people, there's a moment-to-moment aspect of stress management, and this is exactly what we're talking about. And again, you need to do it just in order to put yourself in the correct frame of mind to figure out the right thing that you need to say to the young person in the heat of the moment, because controlling this release of adrenaline, relaxing yourself, it's going to allow your own mind to operate from the reasoning centers, prefrontal cortex, versus the amygdala or the emotional centers. And then in order to teach a young person a lesson as is appropriate in these moments or around these moments, you need to get them to exercise their prefrontal cortex and their reasoning centers as well. So you don't want them operating from their emotional centers in their mind also. But you will not be able to do that if you're not doing it yourself. And again, going back to the yes, you do, no, I don't, back and forths that take place. You know, that is like the adult and the young person's emotional centers just bouncing off one another. And again, like those things can play out very, very long and just go in this cycle. But the only reason they play out is because the adult just keeps giving the young person material to react to. And if they didn't do that and were more productive with what they say, that process wouldn't carry out. So in the next video, I'll get into, we'll stick with the example of trying to get the young person off the iPad to clean the room and some examples of what you can say. But even more, and you know, there's things to think about with what you say to young people. And it might be different to different individuals and to a group context. But even more important than what you say is understanding the frame of mind that you are in when you formulate in your own mind what you are going to say. And that has everything to do with this, making sure your face is not tense, taking the relaxing breath, and getting yourself into the frame of mind where you're operating from the reasoning centers of your brain as opposed to the emotional centers.